Update, August 7th. I think it's Wednesday. Woke up, very bad condition. Should be going to emergency room in Concord or Boston or SARS. Now, I have called ambulances on several times, and it's very clear I need one. Anybody who sees me like this knows that an ambulance is needed. Even when they see the neurological disorder on a regular basis, people want to call an ambulance. Then it passes and people are confused. During the cold, not a lot of times it doesn't pass and I get bloodied up. Sometimes I get an ambulance, sometimes I'm by myself. I've overdid it, trying to do everything for myself, and I can't let this 84-year-old self-destruct. There's a senile old man, and Rochester is trying to let him self-destruct. Now, what I mean by that, Rochester has denied all services to this man and played games with his head. When David went to his worker, Christine Garber, and the state to ask if a lease would help him in the future, or if a lawyer might be needed during an eviction. You want to know what his worker convinced him? There was no need for a lawyer. You don't need to have a lawyer. And what she was trying to do is confuse David. David is senile and already confused. He can't say what he means ever. His brain is mush, and it's very clear to everybody who spends time with him. But if you're trying to avoid paying for services, a lot of times these people will fuck with him. So he's trying to figure out what he needs to do for court, and his worker is telling him to do absolutely nothing but sleep in his bed. She's doing this on purpose. I told him make phone calls to an attorney. But then he has Christine Garber saying there's no need for an attorney. You don't need an attorney. But what she means to say is you are allowed to represent yourself, but representing yourself is unwise. You don't have to have an attorney, but it is recommended that you go out and get one. That is what I am telling David, that he needs to go out and get one because it would be in his benefit. I tell this to David in front of Christine Garber. Christine Garber responds to David with, you don't have to have an attorney. You don't need an attorney. You don't have to have an attorney. Convincing him to avoid making the phone calls. Then the judge is asking if David's making the phone calls. No, I am. I have made hundreds of phone calls to attorneys. I even got David, Attorney Murphy. I also got him a different attorney from Modest Means. I've called Legal Aid. I've spent hours and hours for the both of us. But why is David having trouble calling attorneys? The judge wants to know, what's up with David not calling attorneys? Well, your worker told him not to. Judge, you're telling him to call attorneys. But Christine Garber is saying he doesn't need an attorney, and David just wants to sleep. He's senile, he wants to sleep. If you're going to give David a worker who tells him not to get an attorney in a weird way, and that he doesn't need these things, David is going to get confused and decide that the easiest thing to do is just sleep. You cannot split this man's head into 3 pieces. He will then leave it all to me and self-destruct. But this is happening constantly on purpose. Like, here's an example. David Ganji and me were reporting camera footage of abuse. Neighbors were getting involved with this abuse, taking footage. It was very clear that they're harassing this man, and then they're showing up at my work because I'm just a caregiver. Well, why don't you show up at all the other people's work too then? Because I just showed up. That's it. They say that I should try to get Dave out of town. Dave was here before I came in. If I leave, you're getting stuck with David by himself. See, this is what these jackasses don't realize. Dave was up here way before I came up here. He was living in a closet for like 6 months. Then he moved in here for like 2 months, and then I showed up. And when I leave, David will still be in this neighborhood, but he won't have any workers, anybody keeping an eye on him. He's almost burnt down the house 3 times. Guess what? You're lucky to be alive. Yeah, you got me. You got somebody like me who's pulling the weight of the state because the fucking town wants to dump these people and so other people suffer. Now, all I've asked is that people do their jobs, don't violate any civil services, and don't commit any crimes. But apparently that's too hard. Apparently that is way too hard for everybody to do. First, do no harm. No, no, no. Let's take it out on the poor. And what's even worse is that I'm waking up with seizures and shakes and vomiting after 25 years of being sick and being in so many states in my lifetime. I've called the people who can take responsibility and fix these things. I cannot take responsibility for somebody else. Trust me, I've spent 15 years trying to get better with doctors and try to fix my father's mess that that my mother created, and then she died leaving it. And my father's the one who can clean this up. See, I can't clean it up because I'm not the one who made the statements. I'm not the one who did anything. All I did was win a swimming medal. All I did was play with matches at age 6. All I did is brought to Texas. All I did is talk honestly in front of the doctor. All I did is jump when my mother said jump. All I did is I did exactly as my mother and father asked. All I did was trust my mother and trust my father not to hurt me as they hurt me. That is not something I can fix, but it is something I can work towards by going to the doctors. And if my father ever decides to follow Jesus, meet up with me, this can be cleaned up very quickly. But I'm in for a lot of more years of suffering, and I'm probably going to die before I get better. Things are going to get much worse until I get better, unless my father does the right thing. Then I instantly can start getting better. I mean, I could have got better years ago if my father would just work on this issue. But see, he doesn't want to take responsibility. He loves calling me a junkie, a thief, a liar. He gets thrills out of that. He has no problem tossing money because I'm a junkie. But God forbid I have a neurological disorder for 25 years and I could get better and I don't need drugs ever and I won't have any more falls, no more seizures, no more stitches, and the pain will be reduced naturally. But no, 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 no. See, my father rather put the blame on me and then try to help me because he can blame me at the same time as helping me. But if there's a bigger problem that's been going on for 25 years that I've brought up, my sister's brought up, my brother's brought up, his grandson's brought up, he's had to watch his wife die while drinking, he's got reports that she's popping her son's Vicodin, and she admitted to fucked up shit she was doing right in front of him. But that problem should persist. My life should be affected by his and his wife's choices. And if I want any help, I better do something that he can blame me for. That's it. If there's nothing he can blame me for, my father's not helping me. He's not picking up the phone. Now, if my father's allowed to blame me for something, like if I said at age 7, I found a Band-Aid and swallowed it, and that's why I have seizures. Then he'd probably help me because then he can, you're a stupid kid eating Band-Aids, so now I get to blame you. Then he'll be okay with fixing me up. But because I can't change the facts, those records are there. We need to go, those are the facts. If we work on it, I get better, this is solved. It's a good thing I have the facts for you. Mom even, I brought this up in the doctor's office in Westford. This was brought up a lot. People brought it up. People were seeing it. Teachers were seeing it.